If you're in the North American hemisphere or a culture that celebrates Christmas, you've got a list. And the more you think about people who have been helpful or a part of your life, the bigger and bigger the list gets. You've got your kids and your grandkids and your grandparents and your aunts and uncles and cousins that might be relations all over the place. Or you might even have a very small family, but you have your coworkers, the group that you retired with, your neighborhood, or the postal delivery worker, all people that you want to give a gift to, that you might bake cookies for, or maybe even make a coupon that says good for 5 free hours of work. And you're thinking about what's on the list and what's the good thing to give because you want to be a good, generous person and a giver. And you're thinking about how are they going to receive this gift? What's the best thing that I could get them that'll really make their hearts sing and their eyes light up? And in this process, a lot of people don't have a very important person on this list because this person is pretty demanding and it's hard to know exactly what to get them. And this person on this list is yourself. I know this was true for me, that I hardly ever gave to myself or thought about myself as somebody to give or be generous to. This was somebody, that I decided that I couldn't be selfish, that I would always be able to do it myself. So if people want to come help me with the groceries, no thanks. I'm strong enough. I'm a capable lady. I can carry my own groceries. Thank you very much. If somebody wanted to come and help and form a study group in my class, no thanks. Thank you very much. But I am very intelligent. I can do this by myself. Or if somebody wanted to come and mow my lawn for me or help me with some gardening, no thanks. I can figure out my own yard. Thank you very much. And it became such a thing with me that I never accepted any help, that even when I was 8 months pregnant and hugely pregnant, I was very fatly pregnant, I would not accept help. And so when it came time to change the car antenna on top of my truck, the FM antenna on top of my truck, I would not let anybody else but me change it. My spouse came up to me and said, listen, you're pregnant and I could do this. And I thought, it doesn't matter if I'm pregnant. I can still do this myself. So if you were my neighbor on that day, you would have seen a hugely pregnant woman climb on top of her truck with an antenna in one hand and crawling on all fours across the top to replace it, and her spouse with his hands on his hips, fuming and staring at her nearby. And you wouldn't have thought, gee, what an accomplished pregnant woman. You would have thought, why isn't she letting her perfectly capable spouse do that for her? And I didn't understand, why would my spouse be mad? What is making him so angry that I am doing this myself? I'm not inconveniencing him. In fact, I'm helping him by doing things myself. So it wasn't until I took a class on generosity that I really began to understand what giving and receiving is all about. The first thing they told us in this class on generosity is accept gifts. Accept gifts. Now, of course, there are some times where we won't accept gifts. Not always accept gifts. We won't accept gifts that have strings attached or are manipulative or just downright unethical. The generosity is not becoming about an unethical congressperson that accepts gifts. No. But in general, accept gifts year-round and see how this cultivates a culture of generosity around you. So I started to do this. I started to let the grocery folks help me out with my groceries and found out that most of them went to the same high school that I went to. And it was great to talk with them about how the old monarchs are doing. And when I started to accept offers of help with the study groups, that some of those same people in my study groups are my best friends today. And one time when I was going from conference to conference and working all day and schlepping around the kids, my yard became Crabgrass Mountain. And so I was super grateful for whichever of my neighbors, I still don't know who, came by and mowed my lawn for me. And I think that before, when I didn't accept gifts because I could do it myself and I wasn't a selfish person, that I would have been insulted by them coming and mowing my lawn. But I was so grateful And I was so happy. And so I began to understand what it really means to be generous. Not only accepting gifts from other people, but accepting gifts for myself. You see, when my body or soul would say, let's stay up for a few hours and watch the stars, I'd say, no, I have to get up early tomorrow. Or let's take 15 minutes to journal and process some of these really tumultuous times. I say, no, I can just handle it, just sleep on it. Or, that pumpkin pie was pretty good. Why don't we go ahead and have another slice? No, you're on a diet. I just never gave myself a break. I never accepted or indulged in myself. And I'm not saying indulge yourself all the time, but to give yourself a little break, to give yourself a little gift, to cultivate generosity not only in the people around you, but to become a generous person for yourself, to yourself, to become more gracious within yourself. And after I started living my life in this way, I finally realized why my spouse was so angry. Because in the impending birth of our first child, what could he do? What could he do? He couldn't have the baby for me because, if he could, I would have totally let him. So the thing that he could do was help me. And by cutting off that help and not accepting the gift of what he was going to give, I cut off his ability to welcome our child into the world. And so when you think about a culture of generosity, generosity within yourself, generosity from all the people who surround you, think about all the gifts year-round that don't come in packages. And remember yourself on your list.